Well, it's hot and it's dry, and I'm going to show you some of the grass here, but I came up here to check water. I've got 3 troughs in this particular pasture, and one at one end, one in the middle, and one at the other end. It's about a 140 acre pasture, and came up here and the cows had somehow knocked the water trough over. It was sitting on that little ledge, and where they're drinking, they just keep knocking away some of the sand. Well, that water trough's been running a while, and so we got to be careful and be watching that. I've made it a point to be up here every day, and so I'm glad that I'm watching. Don't know how long the water's been running. Probably not too long, as there's the trough up there, and it's come down this far, and it looks like it just runs into the ground. So hopefully not terribly long. Haven't wasted a lot of water, but I'm keeping an eye on that. This is all well water. There's a well house over there, and we're in another major drought in Texas. Last year during the drought, we started getting rain in about early August, and here we are fixing to be in the latter part of August now, and I mean, zero rain. You can see I've just put the cattle in this. This is my last pasture before we're in trouble, and so you can see this grass has still got a little bit of green tint to it. I'll show you parts that don't have any green tint to it. Ponds have been sucked dry, and thankfully in this country, at least in my area, these ponds all have a sandy bottom, so they're not getting in there and bogging down. A lot of you have tanks where there's just a mud pit down in there, and those cattle will bog down, and then you can't get them out, or if you don't find them soon enough and don't get them out, they'll die. So lots of things to worry about in this country. This is a place that I use of a neighbor's, and I've probably got about 3 weeks of grass here. I'll show you another clip down the road here just a little bit so you can kind of see. The Bahia Grass is really in tough shape. It is basically dormant. You can see just a little bit of green in the Bermuda grass here, and we're gonna hopefully weather the storm. There's a disturbance down in the Gulf that went south and west of us, and so we missed that one. Maybe more will be coming, don't know, but stay tuned. Let's see what else I got. Like I said, we're in a pretty major drought. The last measurable rainfall we had here was June 10th, and we'd had a pretty good rainy season through the spring. Had more grass than I've ever had. This is the pasture that I showed you that I was doing the weed control in, and it's rested since about the 1st of May. And this is all Bahia grass out here, and you can see it has really lost its luster. It's pretty brown. You can hear when I walk through the grass, it's pretty dry and crunchy. This is a place that I've gradually been improving, and it's going to make a good Bahia grass pasture. But I'll tell you, this Bahia grass is really starting to hurt. And when this Bahia grass turns brown and loses all the green, there's not a whole lot of nutrition in it. It's mainly filler. It's probably, it may be 3 to 5% protein, I suppose, if I test it. That's just a guess. I may be wrong. But if you look at this grass, it's losing its vitality for sure. You can see all the brown stems with the seed heads on them. They've lost most of the seeds. There's the seed head there. They're just little old tiny seeds that'll blow everywhere and repopulate the ground. And that's why these pastures will do so good if you just give them a chance to grow. You can see right over in here, this Bahia grass still looks pretty good, but it's been shaded from the afternoon sun by these trees and those trees there, and so it has not taken the hit that the Bahia grass has out in the middle of these pastures. So just wanted to show you that. I'll show you my next watering point, and then one more at the other end of the pasture. I just want to just give you my thoughts on things to watch for with regard to your waters. So we're just driving along here. Hopefully you can hear the wind's blowing a little more, and I don't have my mic with me. But that's that Bahia grass, and it just kind of wilts, if you will. It just kind of starts to lay flat. Very fibrous, probably total digestible nutrients, TDN value is probably pretty low. So it's taken a hit, but they'll still graze it. They don't like it, but if that's all they've got, they're gonna graze it, and hopefully we'll keep some condition on them. I'm watching them close, and I'm gonna supplement them a little bit with some cubes because I've got a slew of baby calves now, and I wanna try to keep the new mamas in pretty good condition. So I'm going to spend a little money. I think we can afford to do that this year because calf prices are so high. I just sold some 750-pound calves, bull calves, and they dollared out at $1,500 a piece. So I'm going to put a little bit of money into the cubes just to give these milking mamas a little bit of a head start so they don't lose too much body condition. But this is just what this pasture looks like. I'll show you the other end. It looks better. This is the part that I've been trying to get in better production, and it's been a labor of love, but it's going to be worth it here next year. We start getting some good rain and this will really come on. So here's another little tank that Goose is cooling off in. And again, I think one of the things about this area where I live is that these tanks don't, when they start losing water, there's not a lot of mud and the cattle don't bog down. I've not had anything bogged down and get in a jam since I've been here for the last 30 years. But certainly not an ideal situation to let the cattle out in there. Certainly it fouls the water. Water quality is not good, as you can see. But I've got 3 different troughs with well water, and I've just not gotten to the point where I've been able to electric fence this off. So certainly something that I need to do, but I just want to be honest, and that's not where we're at just yet. So I prefer them not to water out of here, but they'll come in here and drink. And there's another little catch area down below this tank that also will catch some water. So there's 3 little tanks and 3 different well water troughs in this 140-acre pasture, and I'm watching it close because I don't want anything to bog down. Should that happen, I don't think it will in these tank bottoms, but I don't want them to run out of water either with the well water. So that's where they're drinking the most for sure. They congregate there. So I'm standing in my neighbor's place, and this is just the road coming down the fence line. This is my place across the fence, and I just moved the cattle out of there, and there's pretty good forage still left in there. Not unhappy with the residual, but I'm telling you, the Bahia is just flat because of the lack of rain for the last 60 days. And so we're gonna like I said, we're just going to struggle ahead here. You can see my haystack down there, and I'm going to make a video about that here shortly, and talk about the fire danger. So be looking for that here shortly. There's my pins, the start of my pins on the other side of that haystack, and that's where I have a well water coming to a trough right in the center of this pasture. This pasture is long and narrow, like I said, about 140 acres. There's a good chunk of it that's trees that hasn't been cleared, just thick brush, but by and large there's quite a bit of open country, probably about 75 acres that's in good grass. So let's continue the journey. So there's my hay trap. I've got it electric fenced off. You can see the electric wire there, and I had about 170 rolls left over from last year that I didn't feed, thankfully, and then I brought in another 150 this year. So hopefully I won't have to start feeding that, and if I do, I'm gonna have to start selling cows, obviously. But what I did was I've left this gate, or set these gates, so the cattle can come out of this pasture that I'm in and get access to well water in the pens there. So they readily will go over by that barn. I got a couple water troughs over there, and they will come through these gates. I've got them set so they can just walk through here. When I got here this evening, they were in there watering. So they'll go to one end and water and graze, come back in the middle and water, and then go on down to the other end. So I misstated something. I told you that this pasture I'm standing in was the last pasture I had. I still got another about 40 acres of grass left around my house. You can see my house there in the distance, and it's brown. There's a little bit of green with some of these Jigs Bahia Grass, or Jigs Bermuda grass, sorry, areas where we've burned some of the brush and then buried the stumps, and the clay down underneath the sand really holds the moisture. So that's why you see these periodic green areas. That's where we had burn piles, and then when the track hoe buried the stumps, we covered them with the clay. It kind of went back in reverse order, but it holds that water better, so that's why we have those green spots there. So I'm at the very end of the pasture. You can see this all, again, Bahia grass. You can see how brown it is, and it doesn't look very appetizing to me, but these cows are eating it. You can see I got a slew of baby calves. They just started popping them out in latter part of July, and interestingly, I've had two sets of twins. There's a set right there, and they're all doing good. All four calves out of those two cows are doing well. They're a little bit small, obviously, as twins are, but this is my last water hole, and again, because it's well water, I'm watching these troughs and looking at them every day and make sure that they don't turn over, like the one that I started you looking at on this video, and making sure the waters are working. This is a gentle old cow. Isn't she a nice southpaw? She's got about a 2-month-old calf on her. But that's the crew. Hey girl, what are you doing? This cow hates dogs, and she may hate me today. Goofy thing. So I'm not a cow petter, but that one cow, she comes up to me for whatever reason. So here's my other trough. Now, again, there's a lot of cattle watering out of this one little trough. There's probably 70 head of adults and Another 30 head of calves. I like these shorter troughs so the calves can get some water. But look at them all out there hitting it. I hope this pasture lasts me another 3 weeks or so. We've got some grass across the fence here that we'll turn them into, and we're gonna, like I said last year, when we were in such a bad drought, we're gonna struggle through. But again, I've made a shorts on this. This is my water trough with the mega flow valve, and I just drove these fiberglass posts in here around it so the cattle can't tip this thing over when it gets when it loses, or when they drink the water and it gets light, and they'll turn it over, and then you got water running everywhere like we saw at the top end of this place. So here I am sitting here telling you what to do, and I didn't do it. I need to drive some of these fiberglass posts around that trough, and I'll do that here tomorrow evening. So water, very important, very important. There was just a news article out today about 40 head of cattle that died south of here, probably 3-4 hours away from here, but those cattle ran out of water and nobody was checking them, and 40 of them have died, and there's another 60 that they may confiscate from the landowner. So got to take care of the cattle. That's our job, and we're going to do that.